Welcome back to Reignite Your Soul, everybody. I am your host, Laura Plahuta, and I am so excited for today's episode because I have my beautiful friend here, Amelie, as our very first guest here on the podcast. And she is a incredible soul. She's a mom of twins. She has an amazing husband, and she's a certified life coach. She is a Reiki 2 practitioner. Oh my gosh, so many things. She's an amazing professional network marketer, and she has a massive vision for her life, and she just pours so much love. She wears her heart on her sleeve, and she's been a huge person that's helped me with my journey too. So she has a very special place in my heart. So I'm super excited to have her on here to open up her heart with all of you guys today. So welcome, Amelie, and thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Laura. Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast as I'm your very first guest.
Very first.
So that's so special. Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You so much.
And how are you doing today? Doing good?
I'm doing amazing. How about you?
I'm doing good. A little bit nervous, but yeah, I'm excited.
That's okay. It's always like that when we care about something that we love so much.
Yeah.
We get nervous because we want to do good so much. But I just like to remind ourselves all the time that it's just normal to feel nervous, and just when we just tap into our heart and just serve, that nervousness kind of goes away, right?
Exactly.
Like even right now, do you agree? Like you feel better already?
Totally.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. And that's like one of the things that I really wanted to portray on this is just normal, right? Because we're all just normal, but normal people can do extraordinary things. And you're definitely one of those people. And
definitely normal.
Definitely normal and definitely extraordinary.
Yeah, there isn't anything special about me.
Nothing special. She's just like your average Joe.
Yes, I am.
I love it. So do you want to share a little bit about yourself and kind of how you grew up and stuff like that, just so we can get to know you a little bit more? Because I think it's super special, hearing about how people grew up, because a lot of the time, we think that we aren't special enough to do great things. And I think that it's super valuable for myself and other people to hear exactly how it was growing up and how it was for you, because there's ups and downs in everybody's life. And I think it's nice because on social media, and sometimes a lot of the time, it's just portrayed as the perfect. And that's not the reality of things.
No,
so.
It's not. That's such a great question. So I grew up in a little small town called Dunham, Dunham, in Quebec. It's southeast of Montreal. It's a 5,000 inhabitants. Is that how you say it? People.
Yeah.
We basically knew each other in the little countryside, with lots of mountains and trees. I spent a lot of time in nature, connecting with nature, not understanding that was really important in my life until I reconnected to that much later. But I connected with nature. I grew up playing outside, kick the can, tag, swimming. That's the generation I grew up, right?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, is this all there is? I remember being a child thinking, is this all there is? And I remember thinking, my God, what if? I know I'm a small town girl. I'm definitely normal. There is nothing special about me. But what if? I remember thinking, at first I thought it's not possible that I could probably design a life that I absolutely adore. I don't know why. I thought I would have to live the life of most people do, which is to settle into the status quo. But somehow, do you want to know a funny thing that happened?
What?
So I was 10 and I was watching my mom, that I love. If she listens to this podcast, she remembers this story very vividly. She was running from her bedroom to the kitchen, to the bedroom, to the bathroom, to the kitchen, and she was getting ready for work. And I stood in front of my door, the door of my bedroom, and I looked at her to the left, and I looked at her to the right, and I looked at her, and I remember thinking, no way, Jose. So I said to my mom, I will not have a 9-to-5 job. And no disrespect, if for some of you are listening and you're doing a 9-to-5 and you love it, please, I'm so happy for you. It's just in that moment, 10 years old, I watched my mom, I watched my dad, I observed the whole thing. In that moment, my soul was like, this is not for you. You do not want the rat race. Therefore, it's not going to happen. So that's kind of a funny thing that would happen. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah. And I love that too, because I love how you said, like, for you and your soul, like it
My
didn't call
soul.
you to that 9 to 5. And if that's what excites you and that's what lights you up, then that's what life is all about, is just following that excitement and that bliss and really tapping into that intuition that we all have and that little voice inside of us and actually listening to it.
You
Because a
got
lot of
it.
the time we let all of this external noise and what other people want for us dictate how we let our life flow. And I
Mm,
think it's super cool that at such a young age, at 10 years old, you
mm,
actually had that knowledge to be able to say, like, I want my life to be different than how my parents have it.
hmm I didn't know exactly what I wanted, but I did know what I did not want. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a place, like, if anybody's listening right now and they're like, okay, like, I don't know what I want, it's okay. Because a great place to start is understanding what you don't want. You don't want to focus on what you don't want, but what you don't want is a great place to start in order to create what you do want. So I just wanted to
Yeah,
share that insight.
exactly. That's so cool. And so you have so many things on the go right now.
I
You're
know.
such a busy person. How the heck do you manage all of it?
Well, I do my best. It's not perfect. There's a few meltdowns and a few moments that look less than perfect. But I'm trying I'm stepping right now into a different version of me, which is the version of me who is doing her best to follow a schedule. It's not perfect. I'm on my way there. And I feel like this, to me, when I'm able to fully tap into that, is where I will be able to do everything that I want with more ease. Because right now it still feels like, I'm not gonna lie, some days I feel like I can't do it all. I feel
Mhm.
like some days I'm only good at doing a certain things because I do like a lot of things. That's what happened with creative people. And I know you know that.
Mhm.
It's sometimes I wish I only liked one things, but it's not who I am. So I have to honor who I am.
Mhm.
So yeah, I know that I'm learning. I'm taking a course right now. I'm loving it, and I'm learning that I must slow down into taking new goals right now so that I can dig deep into the one that I'm currently at. Even though my soul begs for me to take on more, I must choose, in order to break through where I am now, to say,
Mhm.
hey, this is going to happen in the fall. We're going to hold back we're going to hold back that horse a little bit. It's okay. It's not going to go anywhere, so I can finish what I'm doing now. So
I
that's
love
where I'm
that.
at.
And I know you
Mm,
were sharing with me yesterday that that's just something that's been a new kind of revelation for you. And I
mhm,
know that I can relate a lot to that. So I'm sure that we have lots of people listening to this podcast that
mhm.
are go-getters. They like doing things. They're very ambitious and you take on so much at once, but then you end up that you're not doing like any of
Mhm.
them to your full potential.
I love my coach analogy yesterday. She was saying, if for people like us that love to take on so much but have a hard time completing the task and feel a bit overwhelmed, instead of going so much like 100 feet wide, we go 100 feet deep into the wall. So it's like, take
Mhm.
one and go really deep to the root of one.
Mhm.
And I like that analogy. It's like digging a well. It's
Yeah.
like, go all the way so you can get to the water. So you can get to the water and then whoosh, it gushes. So then it's like completion. Go all the way in and then let's dig another well. So I like that. I mean, part of me would like to dig all kinds of well at the same time. But I just want to be able to look back and say, I started a bunch of things, but I also
Yeah,
completed them. And
exactly.
I think,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I've had so much resistance to having a schedule too, but like
Mhm.
it takes time to schedule and make your schedule and you might have that resistance, but once you actually put it down and you're able to say like, hey, what are the top priorities that I have? And let's
Yes.
schedule them into my week so that you make sure that you have time, because we're all so busy. And that's the cool thing about this. We're all so busy, especially in this day and age, that we have so many things on the go. So our
Hmm.
brains are just so scattered and so all over the
Yeah,
place that we need to have some sort of method in order to focus ourselves,
I
because
agree.
you and I
I
both know our
agree.
brains can only focus on certain things at a time, and it's very, very good at what it does. It,
It's
like, if
so.
you tell it to focus on something, it's going to do it, but there's so many things that are acting on
Hmm.
us at all times for us to
Hmm.
be able to do it. So I love how they said like focusing on digging one or two wells,
One or two
really
wells,
focusing on
and you know what's important too is to make sure that this is fun. Like
Yes.
for a creative person who really needs to have fun. I mean, we're all different. There's so many different personality types, but for the one that I am right now, it's like do
Yeah.
not dishonor, because fun and joy or is a core value of mine. So if I try, and it's super important for everyone to try to identify your 4, 5, maximum 6 core value, and it takes a bit of time, but that's something you can do, because once you do everything coming from the place of knowing what's important to you,
Mhm.
you tap into what's really meaningful. So if, for me, for example, if I need to have a lot of fun, which I know you're like that too,
Yeah.
Laura, then it
Like
can't just
this,
be
just had to
right.
wear my lion shirt for you.
I love your
It's
Laura's.
my
For those who are not
signature.
seeing, she's got a beautiful lion shirt. It got feathers on one side. It has a butterfly, blue sky, flowers, you name it. It's like a wicked little t-shirt. It's amazing. I think you need to make a post somewhere so
Yeah, and
that
you can check out my Instagram for it, because I literally, when I went to Colombia, I was only planning on being there for 3 weeks. So this was one of my t-shirts, my one of 5 t-shirts I wore for 4 months while I was in Colombia.
FYI, Laura's gonna start some merch. So if you like this
Yeah, if
lion,
you want this lion
DM
t-shirt.
Laura.
I love it. And yeah, like fun is so important. And I think that like when it comes to adulting, right? Like we're so like, you hear that a lot. Like, I don't want to like adult, or like you're told to adult. And like, it's like you have to cut out the fun out of your life
Yeah.
to have like things so
Oh.
serious.
Oh, that's so sad. You know what? It's funny. I think that's a society belief,
Totally. Yeah.
but I think we're ready to let it go.
Oh,
I
heck yeah.
started my career. I was 22, and I remember clearly going to work with people that were a bit older than me, and I remember hearing, "Don't have too much fun." Like, people say,
Right.
"Don't have too much fun," and I'm sorry they said that. It's not their fault. They've heard it. This is like a social conditioning. Don't have too much fun, because
Yeah.
having too much fun equals lack of professionalism, lack
Hmm.
of productivity, lack of what does it equal? Whatever does equal, and,
Yeah.
and everything proves that it's completely wrong. You
Yeah.
can have fun yet still be professional. You don't
Right.
have to be a sleaze. You can
Yeah.
be professional,
Yeah.
and when you have fun, you produce so much more, because you come from a
Yeah.
place of excitement.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was something
Yeah.
that I actually struggled with a lot, because I'm
Mm,
like, how are people going to take me seriously in
sure.
being a professional and being a coach and being able to provide value to people while
Yeah.
still portraying this image of somebody who wears colorful shirts and is like just super real and raw and like having so much fun in their life. And that's
It's
something that I've had to really overcome too.
it's interesting, because you are in your 20s still, right? And
Hmm.
I'm 42. And it's funny, Laura, because a few years ago, I think I was in my early 30s. I remember a point where I looked at my life and I'm like, again, I just was a bit lost. So if anybody is listening right now feeling lost because they don't have fun, like, just, I want you to know you're not alone.
Hmm.
And it's okay. Like, you're in a great place right now, because I mean, this journey doesn't end. And I remember looking at my life thinking, man, my life, something's wrong with it. Like, I didn't know what it was, but that's when I discovered that I had no more fun in my life.
Hmm.
Nothing fun. Forgot who I was. I forgot what is it that made me me? What was it that
Hmm.
made me happy? That's why I said the story about growing up where there's a lot of trees. I forgot I love nature.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot, because I moved when I was 16 and a half to college, and then I moved to another town. Then I started working. I forgot, for
Hmm.
like from the age of 16 and a half to like in my early 30s, when I just kind of had this moment of like, oh my God, I'm responsible for my life. I create my life. Life is not happening to me. Life is
Yeah.
happening, like, I create these things. And if I'm not happy right now, I have to go back and figure out what is it that makes me happy. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
funny how you had this realization now, which I love that you're having that as you're a bit younger, because then you get to pivot and
Yeah.
create something that is more in alignment with you, because
Yeah.
essentially, like, we are really meant to live the most amazing, epic, most fun
Totally.
life. We really
Yeah.
are. But if you don't know that right now, I know that you know, Laura, but for those who are listening that don't know, I want that to be the first thing. You're like, you are meant to live this most
Yeah.
amazing, epic life. And
Hmm.
epic life does not mean it's not going to be filled with any bad emotion, sad emotion, anger, frustration. It does not mean that, but it just means that, okay, we'll experience those, and then let's move on and live this, whatever they call heaven on earth is possible.
It is,
It's
yes.
it's a possibility to create, right? Would
Yeah.
you agree, Laura?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And the more we all choose to step into that, and like I had a really defining moment like that too, like almost 3 years ago when me and my ex broke up after
Mm,
6 years of being in that relationship, and exact same thing as you, like working all the time and doing so many things. Like I traveled a little bit, like maybe once a year, like we went on an awesome trip, but like when I got out of that relationship, it was the exact same thing where I had this moment of like, holy shit, like I don't even know what excites me. Like, what is my passions? Like, what is it? Like, what are my hobbies? And I had no clue. And I love how you said, like, you went back to the things that you did when you were younger, like nature you really loved. So I know there's probably a lot of people that, like you said, are feeling lost. Like they don't really know, they don't have that fun aspect in their life right now. And going back to the things that you used to do that brought you excitement is an amazing way to start.
hmm And just being curious. And if you're like, I never did anything that was fun, my life was boring, that's also okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be curious. I remember in my early 20s though, and not that I didn't know I did about the fun, I just was discovering myself. I kept asking people, what is it that you do as a hobby? And then I would explore that. Like I still
Totally.
remember. I remember this girl was painting, so I picked up a brush and went with her and painted. It was so boring, but I tried.
Yeah,
I tried.
exactly.
And then I
Yeah.
knew this isn't it for me.
Yeah. And I love that too, because like we're all so different, but we can take things from other people and try them for ourselves and see if
Yeah,
it's good. Like if she enjoys painting, then that's freaking awesome.
for
If,
her,
if you
absolutely.
do it, then you don't like it, then that's awesome too. Like it's all just about
Yeah,
learning and growing and finding out what specifically works for you.
agree.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So when you are in those, because obviously life has its ups and downs, like there's
Mhm.
amazing parts of your life, there's parts that
Yeah.
are super hard. Like what are some of those times in your life that you can think that stand out that were like the toughest moments in your life, and how was it that you got through
Mm.
them?
Okay. So I would tell you, so the toughest time of my life happened just when my children were born. So they're 13 now, so that would have been exactly 13 years ago. And it was the toughest time because um, they were born, the pregnancy was challenging, the pre-pregnancy was challenging, the pregnancy was challenging, the birth was a traumatic birth emergency. And what followed was I was one of the 5 women who went through a really bad postpartum depression. So that moment of my life was literally the lowest point I've ever been. And just to give you kind of a perspective, I literally, like, just to give you an image, I literally imagine a scene of New York City. Imagine where there's a lot of cars, a lot of high building. The sewers are there, like there's the street, there's the sewers. Imagine a rope that goes down. So I was down in the sewers in New York City, in the sewers. Sorry, did I say it right?
The sewers, yeah.
And yeah, and then beside me were the rats, and it was cold and damp. And as I looked up, there was the hole, those little 4 little holes that you can see the light peeking through. That was me, like at my lowest. So just to, like, breathing was challenging. A thought of doing anything, it was unbearable. We
Mm-hmm.
we had to move from my house to go to my in-laws because I could no longer take care of my children, let alone myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the darkest point, and rebuilding myself, recovering from the depression, and reclaiming myself back.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also one of the best gift of my life to have that experience. And I love that you asked that because um, the fact that I went through this now, like I use that as a reference point, as a perspective to anything
Mm-hmm.
in my life now. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I was able to go through this and survive
Yeah.
and come through, wow, like that's such a perspective to anything now. I compare everything, and I'm not saying that for you to compare yourself to anything. We all have our dark moment, our dark point, and it will look different from everyone. But if
Mm-hmm.
you can extract the good in it, like, I mean, anyway, that's a different question. But did that
Yeah.
answer your question, Laura?
Yeah. And it's always like hard in the moment, but looking back, like
Oh
that's, I
yeah.
think, one of the something that's very special about you is that you're able to look at that dark moment and be able to take a good out of it. And if you can learn to do that throughout your life, like it's going to be an absolutely incredible life, because that's all life is about, is like
Yeah.
going through these experiences, good, bad, and just taking lessons and just learning and growing and having that continuous growth. So like when you were kind of in that low point, like what were some of the things you did to help you get out of it?
Okay, so I went to the library. So I obviously I went to see a doctor, and then I because ultimately I've always had the intention to live an amazing life, right? So I knew that okay, if you're like not doing well, then what can you do? Staying alone is not going to help. So I went to see a
Mm-hmm.
therapist. I called for help, so that I asked for help. I called my work and I asked to go see a counselor. I went to see the counselor, which was very helpful because at that time I had really negative thinking. I had to do behavioral cognitive therapy, which is to, like, I had thoughts that would come in and would flush my body and it would send me to massive anxiety. So I had to retrain my brain on how to think, which was exhausting. So
Mm-hmm.
kudos to anybody right now who are dealing with that.
Yeah.
Like, I send you so much love and encouragement because it's possible to work through that, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
easy. Okay, so I went to the library. I grabbed the 2 copies of books about postpartum depression. One of them was Postpartum Depression for Dummies, which I adored. I highly recommend if you know anybody who's going through this. It's amazing. Chapter 13, I believe, is the chapter you open up and you let your family and friends read. It's written for you,
Oh,
for
wow.
them to read. It explains what the heck you're going through because you can't
Okay.
explain it. It's
Totally.
fantastic. Oh, it's fantastic. And then there was another book from Brooke Shield, and it's called Down Came the Rain. And it was so helpful to read the story of someone who's like not just an actress, but like a normal, beautiful woman who actually went through something just like I went. But not only she went through this, but she survived and thrived.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I needed. That's all I needed to say, okay, it happened to her, it happened to other people, then okay, signing it. So I'm gonna do everything. So I followed my therapist, counselor, I don't know how you call her, but she said we called my husband in the office and she was very strict. She said, right now it's about self-care and she needs to do things for herself, which was scary. I was a new mom of twins,
Mm-hmm.
2 babies to take care
Yeah.
of. All of a sudden, we're going to self-care. Like, that was huge. But that, like, are you kidding me? But that's what we needed. So
Totally.
I went to the gym, not for the workout. It was part of my routine to just get dressed, put clothes on, leave the house and go, which was like, it was a big deal, but it just kept me on kind of a routine,
Mm-hmm.
and read the books and did the therapy, and I ended up at that time, and again, that was 13 years ago. I ended up going to the doctor, and I was prescribed antidepressant. At that time, I want you to understand, mindfulness, meditation, all that stuff, it was just, if it existed, it was not spoken to.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube was not easily accessible. There was nothing. Like, there's so much evolution and growth in the past 13 years
So
that for me this is the route that I went, and I do not regret any way. That's what I did in the time, best on what I knew. um and that's what I did. So I did my little routine and I got help. My in-laws were unbelievable. People got up at night to feed the babies. Like, they put me, the house had 2 sides to the house, and for the first 2 weeks that we moved, because I had such high anxiety, hearing my babies cry would trigger
mm,
so much that we got separated at night, so they would feed them at night. All I would do is get up, pump,
wow.
and go to bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just can't believe, like, I honestly, I can't believe, like, while I was in that middle of it, I thought, this is never gonna end. Like, my
Yeah.
life is over. Like, are you kidding? Like, it was crazy. And I did not know if I was gonna get out of it, but I believed, and I kept
Mm-hmm.
asking my husband to remind me that I
Mm-hmm.
was gonna get out of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but now I look back, and again, as I said, I'm thankful, but as you said, it's so important to learn that. Yeah, I'm really committed to teach that to people, because I think if we teach that to younger kids, that hey, your life is not going to be exactly what you look like, and there's going to be time where it's going to be dark, real
Mm-hmm.
dark, real dark. Your job is to surrender, is to accept, is to learn, is to grow and expand and become your very best your very best self through it all. It's not going to be easy and you're going to think you can't do it, but we're here to tell you that you can.
Mm-hmm.
FYI,
Yeah.
be prepared. And if you want, because you have the choice, you can extract the best out of this. And this has the potential to be the biggest blessing in disguise for you. I really feel that if we let people know in advance, we're like, oh my God, that's what they told us. They told us. Okay.
It. Yeah.
Oh, because I honestly, I did not. When it happens to you, you don't, you know.
Yeah.
But
And I
anyway,
feel like we live in such an amazing time right now where
yeah,
people are starting to open up their hearts and they're starting to open up and talk about these things, because for so long you always thought that you were alone in this. But realizing if you're going through something, like there are so many other people that are going through and have gotten through the exact same thing as you have. And by opening up and sharing your story, you could be helping somebody
yeah,
that's also going through that same thing. And I think it was a really key thing that you said, like when you were in that deep, dark place where you were like, is this ever going to end? Like, when is this going to, like, how the heck am I going to get through this? You just do it. You just keep on going and you're always just doing the absolute best you can. And it's super messy looking forward. But when you look back, like you always get through it and you always make it out a better person. And I love
yeah,
how you said, like, it was just about doing something, like getting out of the house and being open to that help, going
yeah,
into
yeah.
somebody, like picking up a personal development book. Like I know, like when I first, like I would look at personal development books and I'm like, oh, like who needs self-help books? Like I don't need self-help books, but everybody does. Like if you can learn, like take information from somebody who's already gone through it so that you can cut your learning curve down and just try some things and put them into your own life and see how it feels. Like why the heck not be open to that? And I think it's
Totally.
like such an amazing, powerful story, because we see this beautiful, bright Amelie that's sitting here in front of us, but knowing that everybody has a story. Everybody has a powerful story behind them, and don't underestimate your story, because maybe it's not the same as Amelie's or the same as anybody's, but everybody has a powerful story that's gotten them through where they've been, and like times that were super hard that you've gotten through. And like, it's always going to get better. There's always going to be good days that are coming. So
Absolutely, because everything changes once you understand that. Again, that's another thing I wish I could teach children. Everything changes, everything comes in cycles, just like the season.
yeah.
So if you're in a bad storm, trust, because it will change. It is just a shift in consciousness, and it's like,
Totally.
oh, but I feel like we're ready for that shift, and we can pass this thing around. And
Yeah.
I'm teaching that to my children, which I
You
didn't
are.
only
Yeah.
grow up, right. Like, and
Yeah.
you know, we're all, so I think it's a great time to be alive. It's a fun time right
It's a very fun time. And I was going to say that too. Like you are definitely already teaching this
now.
to kids, because like you're teaching your kids, but you're also teaching so many other people, like people my age too. Like I don't have kids yet, but all of the
Hmm.
stuff that I've learned, like I'm able to like share with my sister now
Yeah,
who has
yeah,
Maya, and
yeah.
like she's able to then like implement that. And that's how everything changes, is by that one person that's going to learn from their stuff and be open and sharing what it is. And then it all is just a ripple effect from there. So that's
Do
like,
you want to know? I have a funny little story that happened yesterday. Do you want to hear it?
yes.
Okay, so it's about, I finished my course, I go down for dinner. My son and my daughter wanted to take money that they have saved for many years to purchase something of a value. My son wanted to buy a Nintendo Switch, and my daughter her iPad. She's been saving for years. You know, every time she gets gift, doesn't, like literally for
Oh,
years. She had a big amount. I came down, and then we're talking, and here I am. I have my own story, my money story. I'm extremely conscious about what's happening. And I tell my son, like, wait, like, I just don't know. You know what he says to me? He goes, Mom, I understand that I don't get happiness from buying things. Happiness is a choice. It's something that I have within myself. If I'm happy and I buy something, it only adds to my happiness. If I'm unhappy, buying something will only be good temporarily, but it will not last. It will not. So I'm
wow.
just
See?
telling you, Mom, that I am happy as a person. I love me. I love my life. And if I buy this, it's just going to add nothing away. I looked at him. He looked at me. he knew in that instant, he just had they're learning argumentation and rant at school in grade 8. He knew in that moment, not only he said the right thing, but I knew in that moment, I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah. And that's so cool, because I know they say like kids, they do as you do, not as you say. And like you literally are like that person that embodies this so much in your everyday life. And like not everything's perfect. Like
No,
never perfect, but like that's the thing,
never.
is that they're learning because you are that person that is really embodying this.
I just want to make sure that we understand that happiness does not come from purchasing things. If you're happy, it's gonna add, and if you're not, it's
Totally.
only not gonna be. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
advice from a 13-year-old boy. How cool is
yeah.
that?
I know.
I
I
love
was
that.
proud. I was proud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's absolutely incredible. And so when it comes to growth, like there's always going to be these ups and downs, but a lot of the time, like I know that you can get comfortable kind of where you are and static in what you're doing, because you've grown, and then you kind of just plateau and do stuff.
Mm.
So like, what is there currently that you're working on to help you grow in who you are? Because you're already this amazing, absolutely beautiful soul that so many people like look up to you, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I wish that I could be like that. But understanding that this is a never ending journey.
It's
So really
never.
enjoying it throughout everything, because there's never going to be a point where you just like get to this end destination. Like it's
No.
literally just an ongoing thing. So what is there currently right now that excites you that you're working on?
So right now, I love that you're asking that, because it doesn't stop. So I took my certification, my life coach certification, in July 1st, 2004 is when I got certified. But something called me about a month ago, something called me really strongly, and I ended up enrolling in this master transformational coaching certification with someone that I really admire. And I'm so thrilled and excited, because I'm diving deep into another certification program, but half of it is working on myself. So I'm literally digging deep. It's unsexy and inconvenient, and it requires work. Yeah, but it is so amazing, because I'm really committed. I'm committed to become me, all of who I'm supposed to be, and I will never stop that, so that I can help others become all they were meant to become.
Yeah,
So that's one thing I'm currently working on
so
at the
freaking
moment.
cool.
And then I think I told you, I signed up for this speaking competition, which scares me and excites me. At the end of March, I'm gonna do a inspirational speaking competition. So that's freaking scares me, but it's part of, I know I want to do it. I'm just scared that I'm going to do it. So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to focus on the excitement, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's
And
cool because you are a speaker, and you're
yeah,
telling us that you're nervous about
yeah,
speaking. And it
yeah.
just shows that fear is everywhere in
It's
everybody.
everywhere.
Like
Damn it.
fear is everywhere. It doesn't matter what you do. It can be the weirdest things. You're like, man, why am I even afraid of this? It's like an
Mm-hmm.
imaginary thing, but you just got to keep pushing through that fear and
Pushing. You
keep
got
like,
it.
yeah, just keep on going. And like we were saying about like this motivational speaking thing, like even like the worst case scenario is you go up there, you don't really remember what's going on, like you
Sure.
don't say anything, but you're learning lessons.
I'm learning
Like
lessons.
you're not like that's
Stepping
gonna
forward.
happen. That's not gonna happen. You're gonna freaking
No.
rock it. I'm so excited for you. But worst case scenario, like
Yeah.
you're literally always learning. There's no bad thing that's gonna come out of it. It's always gonna be growth.
And the thing I want to share with that is that comfort zone becomes comfortable, but not necessarily comfortable. I think it's more
Totally.
the familiar zone.
Yeah.
We call it comfort, but I have learned to call it's familiar. The more we live in that familiar zone, the more we are limited, the more there's a circle around us, and
Mm-hmm.
the more the circle gets stronger and stronger. So uh, I understand that we only grow outside that zone. That's why I chose to do that competition, even though it's scary. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I rented a car on my own when I went to Montreal 2 weeks ago with you, Laura, with Amaya, even though that's outside my comfort zone to drive in a place I don't know, to rent a car. Normally my husband rents cars. So I'm consciously trying to push myself outside my
Mm-hmm.
comfort zone, because that's when growth happens. But growth is like addictive. It's so beautiful and so
Mm-hmm.
fun. That's where
Mm-hmm.
growth, like that's where you connect with so much fulfillment.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm at that point in my life right now. I'm in a phase where I'm like, that's what I want the most. And I
Yeah.
want to encourage people to tap into that
Yeah.
the
And I
most.
love that you said like familiar zone, because you can have that same, because like we know that like all that is because our brains are like programs. So when you run that same track over and over and over again, it's basically it's gonna be that familiar route of what it's doing. And that can be a familiar route that's not serving you. It can be a
Totally.
familiar route that is serving you. But the only difference between them is shifting from what your current thought pattern is, changing it into something that is serving you and moving you forward. And then that repetition, because with like neuroplasticity, like it's been proven that we can literally reprogram our brains. So it literally doesn't matter where you are currently in your life, whether that's somewhere where you don't want to be or where you do. Like it all starts with changing your thoughts and changing those patterns and just being consistent with it and just consistently changing it. And you're going to be so surprised at how you're able to shift your life, like just by changing your thoughts. Like it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's proven, and now it's like we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. And I know like sometimes too, like when I like talk about that, I'm like, man, like people probably think I'm nuts. Like
No,
thinking that like you can literally change anything in your life if
you can.
you choose. And it's like, it's so cool. And I'm so excited about sharing that with people, because this is just something that I've learned over the last couple of years. I didn't know that was possible. I thought that we were just products of our environment. Like your DNA is your DNA, but like you can actually, like with epigenetics, like you literally change your DNA by your thoughts.
You
And
can. It's
it's so,
reprogrammable, and it's wonderful. And some people might look at it as it's scary and unfair, because all of a sudden, you know what it does, Laura? It shows the possibility that, oh shit, you can no longer act like a victim, because you
exactly.
have the
Yeah.
power
Yeah.
to rewire the whole computer system there.
Right.
You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
possible, and you've helped so many people do that, Laura, like with your
Thank
course,
you.
with your uh writing, what is it, how do you call that, not just a vision but writing not the story, remember the exercise you made me do when
Oh, like the affirmations in your recording and
yeah,
yeah.
like
And
it's so
yeah.
powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's all just stuff that I've learned too. And like I've put into my own life and like saw how well it worked. And I just really wanted to share that with people, because we are literally like, we have so much strength within us that like we don't know. We have so much like untapped potential inside of us that like we can't even fathom how much power we actually individually have as humans. And it's scary knowing that we have so much potential. We can literally do, be, or have absolutely anything that we want in life. And it's scary as heck. But I think that's why like surrounding yourself with those people that also believe that and believe in you. Because I know you were one of those first people that believed so much in me when I was at that low point and I didn't believe in myself, and I had you and so many other people pouring so much love and belief into me. And I was just like fumbling through life, just doing the best that I could and what I did. And looking at the growth that I've had from 3 years ago until today, it's like literally a completely different person.
It's incredible.
And I know that that's possible for absolutely anybody that's listening to this, because like I said, I'm nothing special.
Yeah, and I'm not too. And if people think that you are special, here's the beautiful thing: if you think Laura is special, or if you think I'm special, use it as a mirror. It means you have that
Exactly.
special spark inside you,
Yeah.
because we are each other's mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say special, it doesn't mean it takes away from anybody, but truly, we're ordinary people, but we have this beautiful light inside each and every one of us, all of us. And it's, as Marianne Williamson says, it's our light that most frighten us, not our darkness. Like it's the light. Like we are light. We are bright light. We're born glowing bright light, and then the whole environment, society, everything, whatever, we don't want to blame everybody, but the way that we are conditioned and we are birthed into this universe based on how it was with the consciousness of the planet at the time has affected who you have become. And now that you know, well, guess what? Laura told you can reprogram your brain.
Yeah.
And we are here to tell you, grab some personal development books. Keep on listening to this podcast and anything else, because you can. And it's so amazing. It is freeing to tap into this.
Yeah.
is freeing. It doesn't mean it's perfect. It just means it's better. It's juicier. It's richer. And I think, as you said, Laura, it's important to surround yourself with people that vibe like you vibe, because otherwise you don't connect. And it doesn't support you. Like, as they say, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I'm glad I now surround myself with people like you, Laura, and people that vibe at that. No, it's important. It's
so
not
important.
just, it's not just a thank you. It's like you breathe life into me, Laura, like into a lot of people. I'm just telling you, like, it is so vital to have people that can understand you at the level that you're at. It's important. And if you're listening right now and you're like, well, I don't have those people, that's not true. You have us right now. You have Laura, you know, like,
and we have our Facebook group, like Reignite your Facebook group. Like, there's so many ways. Like, I've met so many people online, and then eventually you meet them in person. It's literally like you've met them. Like, we met online first.
Yes,
it was how long before like we actually met in person? And I like, you meet people and you forget that you haven't actually met them in person because you met them online. But that's like the cool thing about technology.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on here with me today. You're absolutely incredible. And I'm honestly so inspired by you so much. Like, you have been such a blessing in my life. And I'm so excited that I get to share you with all of my network and everybody that's here on this podcast. So one last question for you before you go, Amelie. If you could share one lesson right now that you've learned just recently that's on your heart right now that you really want to pay forward to all of the people listening to this, what would that be?
That lesson that I would like to pay forward. It's funny. I learned it at a retreat, and it was about 11 years ago. And it was to accept the offer. And that lesson is, whatever you're going through, how hard or as wonderful, whatever, is to accept, is to find a way to accept what is in front of you. Because the minute you can accept what's in front of you, then you can process into navigating, into jumping over, and into acceptance frees you from moving forward. When you resist something, you stay stuck. It's like a bullet to your leg. Acceptance frees you. It doesn't mean you accept what's happening. It means you accept that something is not what you want, but you're going to move through from it. I think that's the lessons it was an important lesson that has been really pivotal in my life. Like, I've been carrying this since 2011. And I always say, I used to joke with my friends, that lesson cost me $2,000 US in 11 years ago. That's how much the retreat. And if there's one thing I learned in my retreat, it had to accept the offer.
But that's the cool thing about
you have it for free.
And it's something that you're going to invest into, that you're going to be literally reaping the rewards for the rest of your life.
I've used it so much. You don't understand. You get a car accident. Boom. Oh my God. Wait, accept the offer. What's happening? You failed something. Your child told you that they spilled something terrible. No, accept what's happening. All right, that's fine. It shifts everything. Accept the offer shifts everything. Accept the offer of what's in front of you. Does not mean that you can't cry or be angry. I'm not saying that. I'm saying cry, be angry, and then give yourself space, and then look at it, accept it, and then move from it.
Exactly.
Like, it's freeing.
And anger is something too, like, that is kind of frowned upon, but like, being angry is an amazing emotion, because like, any like of those emotions that we are typically seen as bad, it's just there to guide us. But with anger, it's one of those things you just want to make sure that it's just anger. It's not like you're not reflecting that on other people.
No. And that means you need to express the anger. If it means to go in the forest and scream or punch your pillow, kickbox, like, don't hurt people, but express those things. Some people have never expressed. It's important, because these emotions are gonna bottle up. That's gonna be another podcast, but they will bottle up, and they will come back in a hip hop or in yoga. Not that it happened to me. Hello. So you want to really honor yourself with your emotions. All emotions are valid. All of them. Even jealousy that we think is such a shameful. Honor all of the beautiful emotion, because then you can move through them. You move through them, and you just You just free yourself.
Exactly.
I called it free as you go. You know how there's drive-through? I like heal as you go. Heal as you go is a new system. It's like I invite people to do the heal as you go. Get something, okay, give yourself space. You can't feel it today because you really can't. Right now, it's okay. It's okay. Put it aside. Go back to it. Do not bury it for another 20 years. No, it's going to come back and hit opener in yoga.
Yeah, and it will come back with a vengeance.
With the roar.
It will be like, why didn't you deal with me when I like first came up? Holy Hannah.
I love it. I love
it. That's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being on here. And
my pleasure.
If you listening to this have been inspired by Amelie, she has some amazing platforms available for you guys to follow her. You can follow her on Instagram at Inspire Me Amelie, and also on YouTube at Inspire Me Amelie, and that's AMELIE.
You got it.
I'm like, oh God, how could I forget this?
That's right.
And then you can also find her on Facebook at Amelie Noiseux, which is AMELIENOISEUX.
That's right. You can find me, and I'd love to connect with anybody that resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome.
It's been so much fun, so it's been amazing. I'm honored, I'm grateful, and I honestly wish you only the best, so much success. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your growth. I'm proud of you for doing like so many incredible things that are, because I know you're just like the listeners. You're a normal person choosing to step and own your light, and that I love that you're doing that to serve the world. And I'm excited, and I see so much greatness in you and so much beautiful abundance coming your way in all forms, right?
Thank you so much, Amelie. I really appreciate it. And to everybody listening, I just want to remind you guys that it is safe to open up your hearts. It's safe to open up your minds and just dream bigger for yourself, because you can do anything that you set your mind to. So hope that this has inspired you today to go out there and live a little bit bigger in your life. Be bold, make some epic changes, and just start moving one step at a time toward that life that you're really looking to achieve. So I love you guys, and we will see you guys later. Bye.